I've spent the last few years travelling Scotland, but somehow this was part of the country I knew very little about. A coastline of ancient castles, rainforest-like gardens, Victorian resorts and hidden beaches. This is the Cowal Peninsula, Scotland's secret coastline. Hello from the Rest and Be Thankful viewpoint here on the west coast of Scotland. This is a very popular viewpoint. The road going past here always seems so busy. Nearby here though is a part of Scotland that I've never been to before. It's a peninsula and it's sometimes known as Scotland's secret coastline. So that's where I'm going to be heading today. The Rest and Be Thankful is one of Scotland's most famous mountain viewpoints, located on the road through the Argyll Alps. The road climbs to around 240 metres here as it crosses the mountains between Loch Long and Loch Fyne. The unusual name is believed to have come from the soldiers and travellers who would finally reach the summit after the long, steep climb and stop to rest while being thankful they had made it to the top. Back then, journeys through the Highlands were slow, rough and often dangerous, especially in bad weather. The drive down Loch Eck is said to be one of the moodiest roads in Western Scotland. Although on a day you actually want it to be rainy and misty, the sun is out. I have made it to my first stop on the peninsula, which is called Loch Eck. It's a freshwater loch and it's known for its wildlife. There's said to be a lot of red squirrels around here and also one of the rarest fish in the whole of Scotland living inside this loch. It's called the powan, a rare freshwater fish that has survived in Scotland since the last ice age. Today it's a protected species and it's only found naturally here and in Loch Lomond. Powan are part of the whitefish family and are believed to have become trapped in these lochs as glaciers retreated thousands of years ago. In recent years, conservation efforts have also successfully introduced the species into 2 other Scottish lochs to help protect its future. I absolutely love it here. It is so peaceful. You can actually stay in your campervan in the car park as part of the forestry's stay overnight scheme. I think it's £10 to stay the night. That is a great system that has been set up all around Scotland. Before we carry on, I'd like to say thanks to Wild for partnering with me on this video. One thing that I always make sure I have with me, whether I'm out hiking or travelling around, is my Wild deodorant. I've been using Wild deodorant for about 4 years now. My first ever Wild deodorant was a gift for Christmas from my mum, and I'm so glad I started using it because it's made from all natural ingredients. It's also vegan and cruelty free. Wild deodorants come in these really beautiful aluminium refillable cases, and then you can swap out the scents and change them over when you fancy a new one. The refills are completely plastic free and can even be put in the compost. It's such a simple idea, but I really like that I'm not contributing to unnecessary waste. They've also just released a limited edition collection with Miffy, which I think is so cute. As well as deodorants, Wild also do body wash, which I really like, and they've also started recently doing roll-on deodorant as well. If you'd like to give it a go, Wild are currently offering 20% off if you use the code RUTH2026 at checkout. You can click the link in the video description below or scan the QR code on the screen. Thank you again to Wild. Now let's continue this road trip. I have just arrived now at the Benmore Botanic Gardens. This place is over 150 acres and is said to be home to over 300 species of rhododendron. It's one of the main things to see here in this area, so let's go inside. I have come inside the Botanic Garden. This is the map. It is absolutely huge, so apparently it takes around 2 hours to see the main highlights here, and one of the main highlights is called the fernery. so I'll make sure to visit that place. My ticket to come inside cost me £12. As you first come in, you can see all these really huge redwood trees, and this area here is called Redwood Avenue. My goodness, these trees are massive. The redwood trees here, they were planted over 150 years ago, and of the 50 that were planted, 49 have survived. These trees can reach heights of up to 120 metres in California, where they're native to, but these ones are approximately 50 metres high. You can't actually walk down the Redwood Avenue because there's a rope there, but isn't it amazing that the people who planted this over 150 years ago, I wonder if they ever would have imagined that it would still be here today and people would be enjoying it. The estate changed hands between wealthy Victorian owners, and they were the ones who planted these exotic trees and plants that can be found across the gardens. Benmore Botanic Garden is home to thousands of plant species from across the world, particularly those suited to Scotland's wet, west coast climate. Thanks to the Gulf Stream and high rainfall, plants from places like the Himalayas, China, Japan and South America thrive here surprisingly well. This tree just here is nicknamed the handkerchief tree, because when it flowers, which it is at the moment, it's said to look like handkerchiefs have been attached to the branches. Wow, they do look quite like handkerchiefs, don't they? This here is Benmore House, and it's now an outdoor education centre, so maybe this used to be the old estate house, but right opposite, look at that rhododendron bush. That is absolutely huge, so beautiful. I have come across the old entrance to the estate. These are called the Golden Gates. They look very fancy. They're no longer in use anymore though. Look at the detailing on this. My goodness. Just for the gate. So this here is called the Japanese Valley because they have lots of Japanese cedar trees here. When I lived in Japan, so many people had hay fever, way more people than I've ever experienced here, and I think it was actually caused by these trees. I really want to find this fernery. I think I'm quite close to it now, so let's go and see that next. Benmore Botanic Garden is one of 4 gardens cared for by the Royal Botanic Garden, Edinburgh. Alongside the main gardens in Edinburgh are gardens at Dunoon and Logan. Okay, so I think this building up here is the fernery. Let's go up. Wow. This place is amazing. The fernery behind me is absolutely amazing, and I was reading that it was built during the Victorian era because there was a bit of a craze for ferneries at that time. It actually fell into ruin by around 1928, but in 2009 it was restored, so they've restored it back to what it originally looked like. My goodness, this is definitely, I think, the highlight of the entire gardens here. I've made it all the way almost to the top. I'm heading towards the highest point now, but these gardens are basically on a hill. So over there, down there is where I parked the van, and then where the visitor centre is. I have made it to the very top viewpoint here in the Botanic Gardens. It is quite hilly, but I have really enjoyed these gardens. Actually, I'd never really heard of them before researching this area, but it's definitely worth coming here. Such a lovely day out. You could spend hours wandering around. It feels more like trees and more like a rainforest feeling compared to a traditional garden where you just have lots of flower beds and things like that. From this viewpoint, you can see all the way over into the distance, and you can see Dunoon, and you can also see the hills in Ayrshire. I really enjoyed the Benmore Gardens. I think they might be my favourite gardens in the whole of Scotland that I have visited so far. I recently went to the Edinburgh Botanic Gardens, but there's just so many people there. This is much, much quieter, and if you like flowers and rhododendrons, I think it's a very good place to visit. Here on the Cowal Peninsula, there are around 20,000 people who live here, and the majority of the population live in the main town called Dunoon. This is a place I have never been to before. I've always heard people talking about Dunoon, but I'm really interested to see what it's like there. On the way to Dunoon, you'll pass the entrance to Puck's Glen. It's a magical atmospheric walk through a narrow, mossy gorge with multiple cascading waterfalls. Unfortunately, severe storm damage in early 2025 forced the glen to close for safety reasons. Hopefully, it won't be too long before it opens again. I have made it here to Dunoon. It's the weekend today actually, and there's lots of families out and about. As I was driving along the really long promenade in Dunoon, I saw people having ice creams and going for walks, so that was really nice. Back in the day, Dunoon was a very popular seaside resort town for people coming over from Glasgow. So they would get on steamers and then they'd come over to Dunoon. It was like a holiday resort over here, but it really went into decline with the rise of cheap foreign package holidays. People could go overseas, get guaranteed good weather in places like Spain or Portugal, and since then it's not really been as popular as it once was back in the Victorian era. Dunoon began as a small fishing and trading settlement, but everything changed in the 19th century with the arrival of steamships on the Clyde. Wealthy Glaswegians began travelling down the water for holidays, sea air and summer escapes, and Dunoon became one of the most fashionable resorts on the west coast. Grand villas, hotels and promenades were built during this period, many of which you can still see in the town today. Let's go for a little walk into the centre of Dunoon and see what it's like. So as I'm walking along the promenade here, behind these little walls, there's all these houses with big gardens. Wow, there's a big hotel there as well. I can imagine that was absolutely heaving in the tourist season back in the day. Look at the garden there, and then straight onto the beach here. Told a few people I was coming to Dunoon, and the first response actually from all the people I spoke to was Dunoon is a bit run down, or Dunoon is a bit down in the dumps, which I think is such a shame that that's the impression that people have of this place. There's a few places in Scotland that people say those kind of things about, so it'll be interesting to see what it's actually like. My first impression is great. Maybe the weather helps. It's a lovely day today. This here is where the ferry goes over to Tighnabruaich. Here's the ferry coming in actually. The little ferry doesn't look like it takes vehicles. Maybe this one's just for passengers. It's a Calmac ferry. Back in the day, the pier was the heart of the town, welcoming thousands of daily visitors, arriving by paddle steamer during the busy summer months. Look at how grand that ferry terminal is in the distance there. That looks like something from the Victorian era, doesn't it? The old wooden pier and ferry terminal building still stand today as a reminder of that era, and efforts continue to find a long-term community use for the historic listed building. Today, two main ferry services operate across the Firth of Clyde. Calmac run the passenger ferry between Dunoon and Tighnabruaich, while Western Ferries operate the vehicle ferry crossing from Hunter's Quay, just up the road from here. Just here where the ferry comes in, there is a little crazy gulf, and then there is this hill over here which I'm quite curious about. I've seen quite a few people climbing to the top. There's this statue here overlooking the bay. I wonder who this is. It says Burns Highland Mary. As in Robert Burns maybe? His wife was called Jean Armour though, so I'm not sure who Highland Mary is. Anyway, she's looking out over the bay. I was quite curious about this statue, so I just googled it, and Mary was from Dunoon, but she was a lover of Robert Burns, and they met when Mary was working in Ayrshire, and in some of Robert Burns' poetry she's mentioned. These are the views from the top of the hill. Wow, you really get a great panoramic view of Dunoon from here. Look at that. Inside the castle there's a museum, and it's not open at the moment because it's too late in the day, but inside the museum you can learn more about the town of Dunoon and also about the Argyll area as well. Looks a bit like Inverness Castle, reminds me of that a little bit. Doesn't really look like a traditional castle. I fancy taking a little walk up the main shopping street here in Dunoon. I think it's up here. So there's a lovely bookshop there. That looks nice. There's pet shop, sweet shop, Senicam, Turkish barber. This shop looks good. The wee shop. In Scotland, there's lots of charity shops everywhere, and I absolutely love charity shops. They're usually really cheap. The money goes to charity. But you can find such treasures in there sometimes. The Cowal Cottage Bakery. That looks good. Lots of barber shops. Everyone here must have good haircuts. I think I've seen 3 barber shops already. I've come across this little local cinema as well. How cute is that? Every August, around 23,000 people travel to Dunoon for the Cowal Highland Gathering, which is said to be the world's largest Highland Games. Good morning from a place just up the coast from Dunoon. This is called Ardentiny Beach, and it seems quite a popular place for campers and people with campervans. There's a lovely beach and then a sheltered area behind with trees, which is where a lot of people have set up with their tents. I also heard that you can sometimes see submarines here, which is kind of crazy, and there's meant to be a base just on the opposite side of the water there. I have never seen a submarine before, so yeah, I wonder if they start out of the water and then go under, or if they're always under the water. I actually really enjoyed my time in Dunoon yesterday. I love that huge big promenade for walking, and because it was the weekend there was quite a lot of people around and a lot going on. Today I'm going to be heading over to the west side of the Cowal Peninsula because there's more things on that side that I want to see, so let's go. I have made it across the peninsula to my next stop, which is an old castle that dates back to the 15th century. I think you can see it just over in the distance there, so it's probably about a 10-minute walk from the car park. Inside the castle, there's not really that much to see because it's all barricaded up here. You can't really even see through, you just have to peek through the fence here, but I think it's probably too dangerous, that's why they've boarded it up. Here's a picture of what the castle used to look like. What an amazing location. Old Castle Lachlan sits on the shores of Loch Fyne, Scotland's longest sea loch, and was once a stronghold of Clan MacLachlan. The ruined tower house overlooks the clan's historic lands on the Cowal Peninsula. The wider Cowal region was shaped by clan conflicts during the 1600s, particularly the feud between Clan Lamont and Clan Campbell. One of the darkest events came in 1646 during the Dunoon massacre, when many members of Clan Lamont were executed by Campbell forces. From this side it looks like you can actually get a better view. Let's go up and see. Oh wow, look at this. There's windows up there on the left side. It looks like there might be another floor actually up there as well. There's so much more to see in the upstairs here of the castle. I think if you only go and see the downstairs, it's a bit disappointing. But upstairs is definitely worth the scramble to get up here. What I really love though is looking out the windows, and I mean, this castle is about 600 years old. So 600 years ago, people looked out those same windows at the same view as I am today. How cool is that? The Cowal Peninsula stretches for around 50 kilometres, and despite being relatively close to Glasgow as the crow flies, it feels quite remote. Many people describe it as a quieter, lesser known version of the Highlands. I've been driving along the west coast of the peninsula, and it's been so beautiful. You drive through so many trees and you get views of the coastline. I've now come across a honesty box. It's called the Egg Shed. So let's go in and see what they have aside from eggs, obviously. Hello. Have you been laying some eggs? This here is the Egg Shed, seasonal produce. Let's go in and see what they have. Ooh. Wow. So what do they have? They have a library with books. They have some craft, lotion bars, wool. Oh, here's the eggs over here. So £2.50 for the eggs. I might get some eggs actually. There's the eggs there. They also have some jams and chutneys. Oh, they look really good. That raspberry jam looks amazing. And, oh, there's the Argyll coffee. I really wanted to try that, actually. It's the coffee that's roasted here on the peninsula. They also have shortbread. I wonder if there's anything in the fridge. Oh, there's some meat in the freezer there. A ribeye steak. Well, what's in here? Kombucha. I love kombucha. Brewed in Argyll with spring water, alcohol free. Oh, I might need to try one of those. I'm going to get one kombucha, a raspberry jam, because that looks so good. And I'm going to get one of the coffees as well. I think you can pay here by card, or you can pay by cash. Here's some instructions as well how to use the machine. This place is amazing, and it's so nice that there's so many interesting things in here. I'm very happy with all my purchases. Let's give the kombucha a try. I'm really excited to try this because I really love kombucha, and I've always wanted to try making my own, but I've heard it can be a little bit dangerous. I know someone who made it and it all overflowed and went everywhere all over their kitchen, so that sort of put me off. So maybe it's just easier to buy it actually, but yeah, let's give this a go. That's so good. Kombucha is meant to be really good for you as well. It's maybe a bit of an acquired taste for some people. I really like it though. I don't know what it's like where you live, but in Scotland, all the soft drinks available pretty much are just all full of sugar, like Iron Brew, Coca-Cola. The only thing I end up buying usually is sparkling water if I want a cold drink, but I wish there was a lot more things like this available. There are a few things that have been introduced in recent times, but sort of in the mainstream shops that you go to, it's really hard to find a kind of healthy option of a soft drink. The road to get here was pretty much a single track road the whole entire way, and in Scotland you'll come across quite a lot of single track roads if you are driving, and it's worth mentioning that the passing places that you see are not just for oncoming vehicles. You can let people overtake, so if there's a car behind you, you can pull into the passing place on the left, and this is something I suggest that you should do because it can be quite frustrating if you are driving behind a very slow moving car or camper van and you have somewhere to go, especially if it's a local person who's maybe needing to get somewhere, get to work, and they're stuck driving at a really slow speed. Generally, as soon as someone pulls up behind me, I straight away pull into the next passing place that I see and let them pass, because it's not very comfortable as well having someone behind you driving so close, because you feel pressured to drive faster as well. Tighnabruaich sits right on the waterfront with lovely views over to the Isle of Bute. My first impressions is that there's lots of sailing boats, and this is a place that's known for lots of sailing boats that come in and visit. So from the promenade here, the view out to those hills is so beautiful. Look at that. There is a big free car park just in there, so that's where I parked. There's also chargers for electric cars. I often see comments actually in the videos asking about travelling Scotland with an electric car. It's not something that I've ever done, but there are more and more chargers being installed in different places, but I don't know, I don't think I would feel that confident, especially going to some of the more remote peninsulas and islands. There might not be chargers, or if you get there, they might be broken. So, but yeah, this is quite a remote place and there's a charger here, so I guess the infrastructure is improving all the time. The main centre of the town is just over there, and there's meant to be a really good place for food there, for lunch food called Sandra's, and there's also meant to be a really good Indian restaurant, but it doesn't open till 5 o'clock. But if you're here and you fancy some Indian food, I would definitely suggest checking that place out. The pictures of the food on Google look unbelievable. Here's more big houses here. Wow, look at the big glass windows that they have. I wonder back in the day if these were people's primary homes or holiday homes. In Scotland there are a lot of houses that are holiday homes, and it causes a big issue for locals who want to live in places that they grew up. It's very hard sometimes for locals to compete with people who are paying for properties with cash, coming from other more prosperous parts of the UK and coming to places like this, outbidding by a lot of money, and people who work in the local area really struggle to buy properties. It's happened to many of my friends. Wow, look at this telephone box. It's full of many things. What's in there? Wow, DVDs, books. What a nice idea to use an old telephone box. The main street here is so colourful. Look at all the different colours. That's so nice. So this one is called the Tea Room. I don't think it's open today. And then Sandra's is the one I think that's open today. They all look really good. And then down there, straight ahead, this one, Fine Raja. I think this is the Indian restaurant down there. The lunch in Sandra's was great. I had a homemade cheese scone with soup, which was really nice. I think they had a busy rush earlier on because they were sold out of the cheese and wild garlic scones, so I would have had that if they'd had some of those left, but they were obviously very popular. This place is very well known for its shinty, and behind me is the shinty pitch. Look at the location of this shinty pitch. Look at those views. I think if I was playing shinty here, I would get so distracted by the views over those hills there. If you haven't heard of shinty before, it's a Scottish sport that's generally played in the Scottish Highlands. It's a little bit similar to Irish hurling, and you can hit the ball along the ground, up in the air, and you can hit it on both sides of the stick. I recently went to Inverness and I went to the new shinty museum there, which is absolutely excellent. If you are in Inverness, make sure you visit the shinty museum to learn more about shinty. I've just driven down another very long single track road. I've parked up and I'm starting the walk now to what is said to be the best beach in the whole of the Cowal Peninsula. Online it seems people say the walk takes 15 minutes, some people say it takes 30 minutes, so let's see. I think I have almost reached the beach, and the view in front of me is incredible. I think this is the Isle of Arran that I can see. I love seeing Arran from all the different viewpoints, whether you're on the Cowal Peninsula or on this side, or even on the Scottish mainland at Ayrshire side. Goat Fell is the highest point on Arran, and it's magnificent. I think I'm the only person here on the beach right now. It is amazing. Kilbride Bay is a crescent of white sand with clear views out across the sea towards the mountains of Arran. Arran is Scotland's 7th largest island and is often nicknamed Scotland in miniature because of the variety of landscapes found there. The Highland boundary fault cuts through the island, giving the northern half a rugged, mountainous landscape that resembles the Scottish Highlands. It's actually so hard to leave this beach. I want to stay longer, but I've made a booking for a place to stay tonight here on the peninsula. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what this place is like, because it's been recommended to me by lots of people. I have made it to the Portavadie Marina, and these are the views from the back of the van. How amazing. This is Portavadie, best known for its marina, but it's also a place you can stay overnight, either in your campervan or in the accommodation here. There's a spa, restaurant and lovely views looking out towards the Cowal Peninsula. A small ferry runs from Portavadie across Loch Eck to Tarbert, a harbour town on the Cowal Peninsula. They have these pitches where you get electric and water. I've plugged in the Starlink there. So this place is primarily a marina, I think. So over there you can see some of the boats. This place is a really popular spot to come for a weekend away. There's a spa here actually, and when you're staying on the motorhome spots there, you can enter the spa for £10 and you get 90 minutes in the spa. Over there, there's some little huts that you can rent. Down here is the main building, so in front of it you can see all the boats, and then in that building you have a restaurant, a bar, laundry and showers. Just along there actually is the spa over there, I think, at the end. The bathrooms are absolutely lovely, so clean toilets, there's hair dryers, lovely soap, and then there's all these lovely showers as well. They all look so new. This is a part of Scotland that was pretty unknown to me before this trip, but it's really blown me away. I've loved spending the last few days exploring Scotland's secret coastline. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.